It's Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hi, this is Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. And we are kicking off the year in this first quarter with some amazing guests and interviews. And I hope you're enjoying it and leaning into our 8th year at Her Success Story as much as I am enjoying and having fun with this. Today, I have the honor and the pleasure to introduce you to Courtney Tarrant. She's the COO and owner of The Ad Girls, a female-focused Facebook and Instagram advertising agency. She has built a thriving business by catering to female-founded and female-focused online entrepreneurs with unique messaging-first methodology that has created over $40 million in revenue for her clients. I could read on and on, I could share on and on, but it's more important for our listeners to get to know Courtney. So thank you for joining me here on Her Success Story.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, Courtney, how did this start? Like, where did this come from? How did this start?
Yeah, I started my first iteration of this business in 2015. I was at the time living kind of in the middle of nowhere, and I had this really deep desire to build my life with intentionality. And one of my passions, one of the things I love most to do in life is actually travel the world. So I was able to see that as a core value, and I wanted to create a life where that was possible. So in 2015, even when remote work wasn't really a thing, I decided that I was going to start my own company, and social media felt like the easiest sort of way in as a millennial and as somebody that lived on social media. At that time, I was kind of like a rare breed. So I had all of these older business owners being like, how do you do this? And I just sort of dove in with the idea around organic social media, which eventually turned into an advertising agency, which eventually led to my partnership at the Ad Girls that I am currently a part of.
So, Courtney, I'm curious about this you created this intention on core value of traveling. Yes, pre-COVID, COVID helped change a lot that we could be remote. But you started this company back when in 2015? How has this evolved for you?
Yeah. So I knew that was going to be a core desire. Even back in 2015, there was a bigger expectation with clients of FaceTime. But over the years, that's evolved in the way that our working environment has evolved, right? And so the way that I've been able to prioritize travel is really just by setting the intention for myself and letting my clients know. I have a business partner now. I have a team. We are all entirely remote. So there just isn't as much, I would say, responsibility or FaceTime that's needed or time in the office that doesn't really exist for us. So it's really for me just about setting that desire, that intention at the beginning of the year. Hey, the month of July, I'm going to be in Spain. And so just so everyone knows, that's what we need to prepare for. And I, of course, adjust my working hours. I think the way that we have our company structured is it allows for people to be anywhere. I have full-time team members that live in Europe and are in totally different time zones. And as long as they're online and able to answer questions within 2 hours between 10 to 6 Eastern, I don't actually care where my team is. And I wanted to create that for them because I also wanted to create that for me. So it's been something that I've intentionally included in the design of the way that we operate so that could be an option for everyone.
Yeah, I love it. And you're very clear on your expectations and the responsibilities of your team and how you function. So as long as somebody is ready to meet you where the company's motto is, you can be wherever it works for you. I love it.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, about partnerships, and I'm hoping that you and your partner one day we're going to do an interview with both of you because I think that would be really cool and dynamic. My question is, how did you started on this journey, you made these decisions. What drove you that you joined forces with somebody else? How did that evolve and what has worked for you in that way? Because partnerships are precarious. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, exactly. And I think my business partner, Jen, and I, we've been really lucky because the way that we operate is so very different. And it's just different enough that it works. I would say that often people get into partnerships because you have a lot in common or you have a lot of the same skills or the same passions. And Jen and I are sort of like two totally different puzzle pieces that just so happen to fit together,
I
but
love that.
we couldn't be more different if
Different.
we tried in terms of the things that we specialize in, the things that we love to do, the things that we are passionate about. And I actually found her, this is really funny, inside of a Facebook group. We were getting tagged in all the same comments as like, do you know anyone that does Facebook ads? And she and I would often both be tagged. And so one day I sent her a message and was like, hey, do you want to like be friends or something? It feels like we
Right.
should
We could
know
be
each other.
competitors and we could be friends. How do you want to look at this? What do you
Yeah.
prefer? I love it.
Exactly. And so we started a mastermind with other Facebook advertising people in it and realized that she loves sales and marketing. And I was having some trouble like getting my sales and marketing stuff off of the ground. And I love operations and profitability and running the company. And that was kind of like where her headache was in her business. So we cross hired each other one year. And then she sent me a joke inside of a Facebook Messenger that said, hey, what if I buy you out one day? And I was like, I would be open to that. And she was like, I was kidding, but like, would you really? And we had this whole conversation and ended up signing paperwork before we ever met in person. Um,
Wow.
and we're just like, we're gonna build this thing as like the way that we want to so we can actually just focus on our zones of genius so we can actually just be in the seats that we want to be in without having to do all the rest of it. And so yeah, that was in 2021, and I would say that the most helpful piece of advice that I have around partnerships is allowing there to be first among equals. So I know when it comes to anything related to marketing or sales that Jen is always going to sort of be the one that's driving that boat. And I will always give my feedback and opinion. And sometimes she listens to it and sometimes she doesn't, even on silly things like picture selection. There's this one picture that she loves to run ads to that is like me staring at her like I'm madly, deeply in love with her. And I hate it because I think it's so silly. And she's like, she loves it because it's like a joke to her, but it also performs really well. So she runs those kinds of things. And I think that keeping that levity inside of the partnership and also trusting that your partner, whatever they're skilled in, that they've got this, that
Yes.
deep like trust and connection is a super important part of any sort of like success story.
So I will say, not in Slater's Success, my company for the past like 17 years, but in my printing company, and I was in the industry for over 20 years, I had different partnerships. And
Mhm.
some really worked, and some worked for a period of time.
Right.
And one worked really well long term. And I consider him a brother today. And we still talk several mornings a week, and we still talk about business and family and everything and its brother. And if I ever want an outside point of view, he is my go to person because our values were 100% aligned, but our approaches were
Right.
very different.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like actually the powerhouse of what partnerships can create. If you are aligned in what your purpose is, our guiding principle in everything that we do is more money in the hands of more women. We believe that women have the power to change the world, so we're here to equip them to do that, right? If what I'm always pulling towards and working towards is that, and you have a different way of getting there, better, faster, easier, like let's do your way, right? There's no spirit of any sort of competition between us, not only in the way that we run our business like for our clients, but also in the way that like we work with each other. There is no me versus you. There's just us. There's the business. There's what are we working towards?
And to me, I 100% agree because to me, it's the approach is what is the greatest win for all?
Mm-hmm.
How do we
Yeah.
create win-wins on a consistent basis? Wins
Yeah.
for our clients, wins for our company, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
How do we great wins out there in the universe, right? What
Mm-hmm.
is the greatest way we could show up? And if we
Mm-hmm.
just ethically continue to show up that way, you're right.
Yeah.
Women can solve so much of the world's issues.
Yes. Totally. A hundred
But we're
percent.
not going down that path right now. So, Courtney, in building this company, so your sweet spot is operations.
Yeah.
What have you learned? What has been one of the key learning lessons for you in leading operations?
Mm. I would say the ability to let go of control has been a beautiful lesson.
And how do you
I
do that? I feel everybody's typing. How do you do that? How do you do that? How do we
how
let
do
go
you
of
do it?
control? How do we do this?
You actually just do it, and that is the hardest part about it, is that you do it and you expect it to not go well, right? Like, that's what I do. I'm like, "Okay, hands off the wheel, let's see what happens." And, like, sometimes it's like it goes beautifully, better than I could have ever expected, and sometimes it actually doesn't. Sometimes it crashes and fails and it bombs, and it's like, ugh. And I think it's that tolerance to things not working out that has actually been the greatest learning inside of my business and ultimately my life, right? Like if things aren't working out the way that I expected, the way that I planned, and my plans are super good. So I spend a lot of time on those plans, and I'm really proud of them, and I'm really partial to them, and I'm sure a lot of people listening are saying the same thing. Like, yeah, that's a very good plan. And when it doesn't work out, actually realizing that when I fail, I learn faster. And
Yes.
it gives me the opportunity to identify where the weaknesses are so that I can solve them. If everything's going well, there's not as much learning there. And I can't improve upon it because it's like working well, which is like good sometimes. But I
It's
am
it's
in
great
a,
when I agree with you because it's
yeah,
great when things work well. And I know if things are steadily going well and there's no bumps, curves, then I am not raising to my highest bar
yeah,
and
exactly.
challenging myself and my company and
Hmm.
helping my clients challenge themselves and their companies to the highest level. Because
Yeah,
if it's everything status quo, we're not raising our bar high enough. We're not
exactly.
growing as much as we can be. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
Yeah, and I wanna reach my potential.
Yeah.
I wanna help change the world. I think that is, I sometimes feel that I over romanticize what it is that I do in business, but I feel so passionately about the opportunity and the ability for what I do to not just impact my life, but to impact my clients' lives and their families' lives and their clients' lives. Like, there's this huge ripple effect inside of advertising and marketing that I feel incredibly passionately about. And so, to your point, if I'm not reaching my potential, the only person that I'm hurting is all of my clients. It's like it's actually like this greater life purpose instead of the only person I'm hurting is me. It's like there's actually a much bigger cause to this.
What has surprised you? From starting out on your own,
Mhm.
merging with
Yeah.
Jen in 21, and you just came back from like living abroad for months on end.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say the biggest thing that surprised me is, but when I joined my partnership with Jen, my business partner, she was like, "I don't believe in the economy." And I was like, "That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard in
What
my
does that
life."
mean?
Yeah, I didn't know.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
it's
my
like,
first question. So
what
what
does that even
exactly
mean?
does that
And
mean?
I would often get very caught up in the idea of, well, the economy is doing this. And so this is what I can expect in my business. And then the economy is doing this. And this is what I
I
can
get
expect
it.
in my business.
I
And
get
she
it
was like,
now.
I
And
don't,
she's right.
yeah. She's like, I don't give my power away to that. And the minute that I shifted out of giving my power away to the economy or whatever the other outside sources were, the minute it
Excellent.
stopped showing up for me like that. And so I think the biggest surprise for me is like all of the personal development work that has come along with owning my business, but specifically like my ability to create my own economy, but that is just like using my own sovereignty to create the things that I want in my life. And believing that, even some of the hardest times in our business where Jen and I went a few months without being able to get paid and we had to let some people go. And like, of course, there's these bumps in the road.
It's
The whole
business.
time it wasn't because of the economy. There was stuff that we were doing, that we were going through. And even now it's like, oh, the economy and sales are going to slow down. That hasn't been the reality for us because we refuse to give it power in our business. We just do things differently. We respond in real time. We're advertisers. So we respond in real time to the data and we're like, oh, this needs to shift, or we need to do this, or we need to try this promotion in order to keep the business moving forward. But we don't believe in the economy.
I didn't get it. Now that you explained it, I have to say, I don't just get it. I happen to agree, and
Yeah.
I've agreed with it, and I've never put it that way, but I have had that same thought process
Mhm.
of if I listen to how I'm supposed to do based on what everybody's saying how I'm supposed to do,
Mhm.
my company would be at a very different place than where we are today. I would be
Totally.
like, "Oh my goodness, back in the day, coaches weren't making $60,000 a year." And I'm like, "Okay, that's not gonna work for me." And I just moved that aside. And I was like, "Okay, we're gonna scale this way because this is what I know and this is how we scale a
Yeah.
business." And right. And I just never listened to the hearsay on the street. And I still don't listen to the hearsay on the street. I listen, and this is what I'm hearing you say. I listen to what's going on in my marketplace, how I can make an impact on the markets that we work in, make a
Mhm.
difference, make an impact, and be of service and create win wins, is what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
And that creates our economy.
Mhm.
I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. So we don't believe in the economy. That's been the most surprising thing because I definitely came in to our partnership even after many years of running a business on my own being like, "Okay, well, this thing's coming up." And she was like, "We don't do that." And I was like, "That's an option?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Huh." And it has been the most surprising and the most beautiful learning process for me and I've loved it.
So, in the vision for the future,
Mhm.
this is early stages of 25 at this point. What do you see the vision for yourself in the future? What is exciting to you?
That is such a great question. I think that for me, I have always led with intentionality in designing my life and designing my business. And so the things that I see for my future is a little bit more ease in the way that I relate to the same thing that I've always been doing, right? So that evolution in a little bit more ease as well as a lot more abundance. I have shifted my belief structures around thinking that it has to be hard to get to where it is that I want to be. And I just believe that things will come easily to me. We were approached this year actually about our acquisition. We had our first acquisition of a company this year, which is very exciting. And everybody
Ooh,
was telling
congratulations.
Thank you. Everybody was telling us that we had to do all of this work and we had to go out and find people and we were like, actually, we believe this was again led by my business partner Jen, who has just the most beautiful mindset. She's like, it's just going to show up. And I was like, that feels not correct. That can't be possible. And she was like, no, it is. And it did. And it was the most perfect opportunity. And I believe deeply the in the impact that we are meant to have here in this world, and that when you are aligned with your purpose and aligned with your impact, that can actually be easy. So that's sort of what I'm envisioning for my future, is a lot of ease coupled with a lot of abundance.
I love that. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. And I'll
Yeah.
get on that train right along with you.
Yeah, jump on. Let's go.
What tip or piece of advice for other business owners, women founders who are looking to scale, looking to grow, hopefully not looking at the economy and creating their own economy?
Right.
What do you have? What would you share with them from your learning lessons?
I would say that it is not that long ago that women were putting one another down. I think it still often happens for taking up a lot of space. It wasn't that long ago where like society and the world was the purpose of a woman was like to be seen and not heard and be well behaved and do all of these things. And what I have found is that the more space that you take up and the more authentically that you live your life, the more people that will really disagree with you.
Yeah.
And it is an injustice to everybody else for you to not fully step into your authenticity and your power and to not honor other women who are doing the same, even if, especially if you disagree with what they're doing. I think that there's so much power in allowing somebody to not be competition, to not be a villain because they are different than you, but to really embrace and hold space for all of us to step into our unique power and our unique perspective on what the world is. And when we create space for that for other women, we actually
Yeah.
hold that same space for ourselves. And so I think that I have found the most success in actually being authentically me, even down to the content that I'm posting on social media. I'll post something and then I'll mess up and be like, that I said that bad. I'm going to try again. Like just being yourself just by existing in that state, gives other women the permission to do the same. And so that is my challenge, even when it's hard, is to genuinely show up and understand that when you do that, you will cultivate a more deeply aligned life because you are actually living in more deep alignment with yourself. And so that is it's definitely a woo-woo answer, but it has helped
Yes,
me the
yes
most
and
in
no.
business.
So, I'm a firm believer that great business success is we need some woo.
Yeah.
We 100% need because that's the mindset piece.
Hmm.
It's the mindset piece. And that's, if you don't have woo, you don't have vision. If you're
Yeah.
not working alongside with the universe and the laws of the universe,
Hmm.
then you're just setting things up to be hard for yourself. I'm a
Yeah.
hundred now. Understand? I mean, as a consultant and a coach, I'm 100% around strategic planning, practical actions, consistency, and follow through,
Hmm.
and adding in the woo and the vision and the belief and seeing when this is already here. It's just a matter of me connecting to it.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
about, oh my God, I need new clients this year, right? For
Hmm.
any listener here. It's about knowing new clients are there and new customers are right there for you. It's just about creating the connection. And what does that connection look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Courtney, what a joy. I want to do an interview with you and Jen. And when we stop this recording, we're going to organize this.
I
But
love that.
listeners,
Yes.
take a moment. This is what I say at this point in her success story. Take a moment and take a breath. What is the one takeaway or aha moment from what Courtney and I's conversation brought to you? Write it down somewhere. I don't care if it's in your phone or a piece of paper, it does not matter. But what does matter is make a decision of what you're going to do with this information. What is the action you're going to take? There is so much more to learn from Courtney and Jen. So I encourage you to, Courtney, how can they learn more about you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Courtney.Tarrant, Tarrant, or you can visit our website, theadgirls.com.
And the Ad Girls has some great things, and Courtney and Jen have some great things going on for other women leaders. So you do want to stay tuned and be aware and be looking for it. Courtney, thanks for joining me here today on Her Success Story.
Thank you so much.
This was a blast. Listeners, please feel free to leave a comment, share it forward with somebody else who might enjoy this conversation. And most importantly, hit subscribe. We hit come into your inbox every Monday with great guests just like Courtney today. Thank you and see you next time.